First story. I, 38M, recently discovered that my wife, 35F, has been involved in an emotional affair with a man she met online through a game. During the COVID-19 pandemic, I introduced my wife to Final Fantasy XIV as a means for her to have fun and socialize with others online. 3 months ago I found out she was cheating on me. I got a hold of their private chat messages both in-game and on Discord. It felt like my world fell apart. Heartbroken doesn't even begin to describe my pain. She pleaded to rebuild our marriage and promised me that her affair ended in 2021. She assured me it was only an emotional connection and that she would never act on it. My wife was also dealing with drug and alcohol addiction, and our 15-year-old dog dying, which affected her decision-making. She met him through their guild FC and he is 10 years older than her. They quickly became friends, playing the game day and night, often staying up past midnight. Over time, she started feeling emotionally connected to him. They got married in the game and began engaging in descriptive erotic role-playing ERP. She admitted that she initiated the first move to make their relationship more personal, moving their chats from in-game to more personal conversations on Discord. They talked about their daily activities and passions outside the game, similar to dating. She shared her real name and personal email address with him. She claims they did not exchange phone numbers. Their ERP evolved from playing as game characters to more personal role-playing as themselves. She shared her personal fantasies. She never shared them with me. Confided in him about our marriage issues, revealed personal secrets, and exchanged personal photos. She can't recall if she sent any nude photos, but some showed a lot of skin because she was in great shape at the time. The most painful part was them calling each other husband and wife, and talking about what they'd do to each other when they met in real life. She confessed to having deep feelings of love for him, daydreaming about being close to him physically, and often imagining meeting him in person. What hurt even more was discovering that she often secretly messaged him while we were in bed together. She even messaged him while we were spending time together as a family. To make matters worse, I found out she had been ERPing with 4 other guys, the last one in March 2023. Although it wasn't as personal as it was with the first guy, their chats were still very sexual. Initially, she concealed critical details about the affair, unsuccessfully tried to delete messages from other men, and was overly secretive. She only confesses when she's left with no choice, fighting against revealing the truth until the very end. I uncovered most of the details about the affair myself, and getting her to confess took a lot of hard work. For some background, my wife and I have been together for 19 years and have 3 wonderful kids. We've been together since high school. From the beginning, we've loved each other deeply and passionately and have never been apart. Our early years were magical, full of love and excitement. We shared common interests like taste in music, movies, nature, gaming, love for other cultures, dreams of traveling, and starting a family. My wife is an amazing mother and wife. She is incredibly loving, profoundly empathetic, highly intelligent, and never fails to make me laugh. Unfortunately, after our children were born, my wife struggled with postpartum depression and has continued to deal with depression for many years. She also carries guilt from 2 abortions due to our financial situation at the time. During her battle with depression, I was coping with anger management problems and what I thought was severe depression. Despite seeing many doctors and trying different antidepressants, nothing worked for me. I felt like a robot, moving through each day without emotional connection or feelings. With much regret and guilt, I confess that I haven't provided the support she needed and didn't act as the caring husband I should have been. We fought frequently, and I was verbally abusive, constantly shouting and condescending. I failed to help with housework, assist with the children, or be there for her emotional needs. My wife and children walked on eggshells around me. My demanding job took up so much of my time and energy that I failed to make her feel loved, cherished, or appreciated. Despite our marriage falling apart, my wife chose to stay with me, even though she had every opportunity to leave. I started seeing a new doctor who was empathetic and very understanding of my situation. This doctor looked into my condition more thoroughly, thinking the real reason for my symptoms wasn't the medications but something deeper inside my body. After several blood tests, I discovered that I had low testosterone and hormonal imbalances for many years, probably since my late teens. It's a relief to finally understand why I've been feeling this way. After 6th week of testosterone replacement therapy (TRT), I noticed an incredible rejuvenation. I started feeling like my 18-year-old self again. My energy was at its peak. I began exercising and lifting weights again, and my brain fog vanished. My overall mood improved a lot. For the first time, I felt like I finally had control over my emotions. Unfortunately, just as I was beginning to feel hopeful about the positive changes in my life, that was when I discovered her affair. I chose to forgive my wife and rebuild our relationship because she stood by me through all the tough times, no matter how difficult it was to live with me. Before my testosterone therapy, she suffered from years of neglect and mistreatment from me. Breaking up with her now that I'm feeling better would be unfair. I believe she wouldn't have felt the need to cheat if I had been more emotionally connected, attentive, and loving. I began working immediately on reconnecting with my wife and building a stronger foundation. I wrote her several heartfelt letters, something I haven't done since we were teenagers, to express my deep love for her and apologize for neglecting her. We both acknowledged our main problem is communication and always being overly cautious about each other's feelings. I broke down in tears in front of her and our children, thanking her for not leaving me and for not giving up on me. This was the first time I ever cried in front of my wife and children. I had fallen in love with her all over again, and I feel more emotionally attached to her than I ever have since we were teens. I've started regularly doing chores at home, helping her with her studies, and spending more time with the kids. We are both reigniting our love for each other and finally communicating. Our sex life has greatly improved and become more fun because we started living out her fantasies. Thanks to the energy boost from my TRT, we have been having sex almost every day. Sometimes even 2-3 times a day before this. We were lucky to be intimate more than once a week. It has brought us closer together and added new excitement to our relationship. She even said she hasn't felt this in love with me since we were teenagers. Even though I've wholeheartedly forgiven my wife for her affair, I can't stop thinking about it. It's always on my mind, whether I'm working or relaxing. I think about it constantly, maybe 100 times a day. I have frequent panic attacks and vivid nightmares where I see them being together. It feels exhausting. Plus, I'm also filled with regret for how badly I treated her years before I got help. I feel guilty all the time and keep replaying how I mentally abused her. I cry nearly every day and struggle to eat or drink thinking about it. It's really draining me mentally. I'm also having major trust issues. I hope to repair our relationship and maintain our family unity. But there's a part of me that wants to leave due to her ongoing dishonesty and holding on to the secrecy, despite the many chances she's had to come clean. Despite this, I believe she is making a real effort to change. Second story. Concerned husband about wife. It feels wrong to even make this post. I never thought this would ever cross my mind during my marriage. My wife is incredibly kind. We have been together for nearly 15 years, married for 8. She's one of the last people I thought I'd ever consider would not be faithful, and odds are she hasn't went that route, but recent behavior has led me to lose trust, and it crosses my mind that maybe, just maybe, she could be having an emotional affair. I couldn't imagine her ever going physical route. Even the one friend I opened up to on the details said there's no possible way, man, you're being paranoid. My wife had lost a bunch of weight after our second child at a fast rate. I suspected she was using Ozempic, from 190 pounds after second child, most she ever weighed. Note, she has always struggled with body dysmorphia despite her being gorgeous. Seriously though, she's stunning and that's not me being biased. Anyways, from 190 130 in about a year, but the weight loss just didn't look natural. I commented on her weight loss and complimented her. I asked how she was able to have such success, and she didn't bring up meds, so I left it alone. One day I stumbled across a hidden bag in the fridge with semaglutide syringes. I felt bad. She felt like she couldn't tell me, but also understand it's a sensitive topic for her. I remember hearing about the high cost of it, yet I couldn't find it on bank statement. She is a mom with our 2 kids under the age of 5. She gets my check in cash to deposit in bank. We have our own separate credit cards. After doing some digging, I saw where we had charges to a loan company in our bank statement. Long story short, I found out my wife had hidden debt and we had been paying a large amount in interest alone. The debt left to pay was $40K. I was shocked. I couldn't believe my wife had done that. I've always been loose with letting her spend, with the occasional, "We need to cut back on our Amazon spending." I knew she would overspend from time to time, but I didn't think much of it. But this had me physically sick. After bringing just a few details up, I wanted to see her reaction to see if she would come clean. She lied about all of it. I waited a few days thinking she may fess up to it, but she never did, so I came out with all of it. She didn't seem to be that apologetic. I wrote it off to the shame she was feeling made it hard to do that. Next day she seemed distant. I asked her if she was okay. She seemed distant. She replied, "I'm surprised you noticed," then went on a big spill about how I never loved her and that I'm emotionally unavailable. She then told me to really think hard about if I love her or not. She feels like she's the only one pursuing. What really got me was when she said this: "If you don't love me, it's okay. I felt like I pressured you from beginning to marry me even though I know you didn't love me like I loved you. We both deserve happiness. We can still be friends. We could be great co-parents. You can get the kids anytime you want. We are both getting older and deserve to be loved and naturally desire to love." I was appalled by her statement. I find out about the meds and debt from what appears mostly shopping. Then, all of a sudden, she is making talks of divorce. I was in tears asking why she would say all of that, but she's right. I've been emotionally unavailable. She's somewhat brought it up before. I work 80 hours a week 6 months out of the year, then 50 or so the rest. I've found myself not giving her enough time and attention. She said she's just tired and exhausted from trying to get me to be present with her. I want to be a better husband. I offered for us to do marriage counseling. She said they wouldn't help. I needed to naturally want to do that, not forced. This conversation led to doom in my stomach. With tears in my eyes, I asked, "Are you having an affair?" She gave me a disgusted look and said, "Really?" Then she said no and said, "When would I even have time?" She does have the kids and one of them is a 1-year-old, but there are times the parents keep them. If I'm being honest, I don't feel she's having an affair of any sort. But those comments she made I can't get out of my mind. She was lying about the debt and not being transparent when I found out. She wouldn't give details until I confessed I already knew about it, then she would tell it. If she lied about that, she surely would lie about this. I've been sick to my stomach since. This was a couple weeks ago. Right now, we are doing fantastic. I'm being the husband I should be. I've listened to podcasts and read articles about a woman's love language. I want to be the husband she needs. I've felt the need to snoop after all of this. I don't have her phone password. I've never had a thought to look into her stuff. I can see recent searches on iPad. It's got same iCloud as her phone. Nothing out of the ordinary on it except night we argued. She Googled what does the Bible say about divorce along with diet med stuff, which made me sick. We are both Christians. No communication apps on all purchase apps which I can see on iPad. Phone bill, which is limited since I can't see Wi-Fi stuff and she's so practically stays on Wi-Fi. Only thing I know to check that are left are Facebook and Instagram messages. I couldn't figure out password and she keeps her phone on her most of the time, so not many attempts. I usually get her phone when it's time for upgrade and let her get the new one. Well, since my phone is giving me trouble, I felt like now would be a good time. I thought if I could get her phone and my phone to bring to phone store that I could get access. They could copy her stuff to put on her new phone. Then I could wait till next day to get her stuff off old one to put mine on it. That gives me one day to go through it. It feels so wrong. The spending and outburst is extremely out of character for her. I feel this came about due to the shame from getting exposed along with my unavailability emotionally. Am I being paranoid? Should I not go through with this? I want to rebuild trust and feel like if I can get 95% certainty that I'll rebuild it back stronger than ever with this clarification. If you feel that I should, what should I do once her phone is in my possession? I don't want it to alert her that I'm snooping once she has her new phone. She also has a smartwatch. Any tips or advice on all of this? Please let me know. I'm praying for each and every one of you going through problems with spouse. Such an awful gut-wrenching feeling. Edit, hiding the debt was sophisticated. She had multiple bank accounts. When I offered to see them, all she said was they have no money in them. Seems like she would offer them without me asking for transparency. Then when I named bank accounts and left one off, I asked if that was all and she said yes. I kept saying, "Are you sure?" Then she admitted to the one I left off. I don't understand why she wouldn't tell me. I brought up all the bad. Why not tell everything since it's already been uncovered? She also searched how would someone know which banks you use. No indication of cheating from email either. I forgot to add. Update, I've decided I'm going to go through with going through her phone when we update phones. It will be in next day or two. Although I still feel cheating is highly unlikely, I still like confirmation. The deciding factor for me was there being a better chance of more financial infidelity going on, and I'll likely be able to get banking info from saved logins. She's innocent of cheating until proven guilty. I'm going in with the confidence that this behavior stemmed from both of us being disconnected in last 2 years, not because of someone else. Any advice on steps I need to take or iPhone tips tricks is much appreciated. I'm going to get 24 hours with it. I'll update when I do. Thanks everyone for your input. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. Third story. My husband cheated with my son's girlfriend. So I have to tell this story because it's almost too crazy to even believe. My husband 43 and I have been together for 20 years now but only married for 6 years. We had hit a terrible time in our relationship 2 months into our marriage when he was arrested for drug use. I was unaware he was using. I had went to work thinking he had the flu and come to find out it was actually drug withdrawal. He was arrested and sentenced to drug rehabilitation. He relapsed several times during his course of outpatient treatment and eventually forced to serve a sort of in-house jail rehabilitation. During all of this, my son 25M was dating his 26F girlfriend. They had been together for 7 years at the time the cheating occurred. My son and the girlfriend were living at my parents' house about a mile away. While she went to college, my son paid. The entire time my son and her dated, I kept thinking at some point she is going to leave him. I just kind of felt like she wasn't all that into him. He was paying for her college because he felt like this was an investment into their future together. She graduated college with her associate's degree, and I felt at any time the bomb was going to drop that she was leaving him. At this point, my husband and I've been going through a rough time. He wasn't finishing up his stuff for the rehabilitation, he wasn't working, and I kind of felt like he was hiding something. My thoughts were he was back to using again, and I was constantly trying to find out by looking through TXT and emails. One morning I randomly get a call from my son. He says, "Mom, we need to talk." He says, "Grab your keys and meet me outside of your house, don't wake him." I said okay. At this point I am thinking to myself, oh no, she's pregnant and my son is freaking out. What happened in the next hour would destroy my entire family. I get into the car and my son says, "Where should we go to talk privately?" I said, "Let's drive down to the locks that are about 5 minutes down the road, but a pretty secluded place to have a private chat." My son stops the car and says, "Mom, my girlfriend and my stepdad are cheating with each other." At this point I am hearing him, but I'm not hearing him. I feel like my soul has just left my body and I'm in an alternate universe. My son had found emails from his girlfriend and my husband saying stuff like, "How funny would it be if they left us for each other?" Talking about how they would meet up every time my son and I left for work at my house to have nightly activities in my bed. How she had gotten me to braid her hair on multiple occasions just so she could come over to see him. I'm hearing all of this and my daily life was flashing before my eyes. How she would ask to come over to my house to study because my parents' house was noisy, or how she would ask if I would braid her hair for her to work the next day. I would think she was trying to bond with me for my son, when in actuality she was there to make eyes at my husband, and for him to do the same with her right under my nose. Needless to say, I kicked him out that day, and after 2 weeks she moved out of my parents' home and into an apartment with my husband. As of now we are still married and filed for divorce, but our court date has not been set yet. My 15F daughter is completely crushed. Her and my son's now ex-girlfriend never got along. They in fact hated each other and still do. My soon-to-be ex-husband has decided that my daughter is just better off not having him in her life, because he is going back to the drugs as soon as all of his court hearings for drug court is over. Both of my kids went through a terrible depression, and I am still trying to figure out what in the world has just happened to my family. I am so confused on all of this. Fourth story. Why do I have so much regret? My ex and I were together for 6 years. She cheated on me 2 years ago with her boss from work. We worked through it and things seemed okay for the last 4 years. I'm sure at this point there has probably been more I was blind to and was being gaslit for those 4 years, but I'll save that for another post. She was never really invested in doing the work to build a healthy relationship after the cheating, and I rug swept and ignored red flags, living in denial. 3 weeks ago, I discovered my girlfriend was cheating on me again for at least the last month. I stopped by her apartment while she was out because she was being sketchy for weeks, and especially the night before where she said she was out for dinner with her mom, but what she was saying didn't add up. I stopped by her apartment the next day to investigate. We have keys to each other's places and I found condoms in the bedside table. We don't use condoms as we are supposedly exclusive and clean for years now. And then I saw cum stains on the bed. I was in shock and devastated. I grabbed the expensive camera lens I bought for her and the Xbox I bought her for Christmas so we could play online together when apart, and put them in a bag and stormed out. As I was leaving I thought better of it and returned the items and decided I would confront her when I saw her in a couple days. When I called her out she cried and said she was sorry, and how unfair it was to do this to me, etc. Turns out she has been hooking up with a guy from work. Long story short, I'm exhausted and haven't been sleeping properly. We decided to work on things and get therapy with clear boundaries in place and ending the relationship. She would find a new job, etc. She swore this time she would be more involved and do the work. For the next 3 weeks things seemed okay, but she always avoided really talking about it or coming fully clean. I would have to steer the conversation and she would deflect. But she would always be very loving and say I was her soulmate and she wanted this to work, etc. There was a lot of sketchy stuff over the next few weeks, really, but I won't get into that now. I did not feel like trust was being effectively built, and her remorse seemed to have sort of faded. Needless to say, I was suspicious. She gaslit me and assured me everything was fine and would continue the love bombing. Anyway, last Friday my friend and I went to a show he had bought us tickets for months ago. I was texting my girlfriend throughout and she suddenly said her friend invited her to the beach, but assured me it was just them. I wanted her to send pictures and proof and keep in touch. She made up excuses and was not responding much, but said she was excited for a healing day with me tomorrow, and we would talk about some stuff that I had wanted answers to. Trickle truth was happening the whole time over these last weeks, by the way, and she was not forthcoming with information. Eventually around 9 p.m. or so she stopped responding altogether. Obviously I was in a panic, but kept my cool and finished the evening figuring I would hear from her later. So I went home and waited to make sure I was good to drive and was going to head over to her place and see what was going on. It was about 2 a.m. at this point. I was getting worried that maybe something had actually happened to her, and sent more texts asking if she was okay and saying I was worried. I got to her building and went up to her apartment door and knocked. My hands were shaking and the adrenaline was definitely affecting me, thinking what I may come across. No answer, so I opened the door. There was nobody home. In her bedside table I found an economy box of 36 condoms. From there I just lost control. I'm usually a very calm person, but the idea that she had been leading me on, lying and gaslighting me the last few weeks broke me. I grabbed the Xbox and the condoms and kicked a guitar, a shitty old one she never played and didn't tune properly, and broke it in half. I don't remember driving home too much, but when I got there I was so enraged. I did something I now regret. I messaged her mom and dad and some friends and told them about what she had done and been doing. I also told a friend of hers all the nasty stuff my GF had said about her over the years and warned her that she was not a good person or her real friend. Now ex-GF texted me finally at 7:43 a.m. saying I'm fine. She removed me from her social media and we haven't spoken since. Did me a favor, right? Working through things on my own, booked a therapist, self-care, etc. But I feel immense shame about having reacted in this way. I know it was a traumatic event and her actions ultimately lead to the outcome. But I find myself wishing I had kept my cool and waited to speak to her the next day, and not involved other people or told her one friend all the mean things that had been said about them. I know if we had met up it would have just been more lies, and I know I shouldn't worry about keeping a cheater's secrets. In the moment I think I blew things up because I felt like this needed to end and this would ensure not getting sucked in again. I know and knew she will never forgive me for airing her dirty laundry. And that's fine, I don't need her forgiveness, but I just can't shake this what if feeling and feeling shame for breaking and taking things from the apartment. Why do I feel so bad about this and find myself wishing I had waited and spoken to her when deep down, I know it would have just been more lies and manipulation. Fifth story. I realized a while into my current relationship that I cheated on my GF. I've been with my girlfriend for about a year. Our anniversary is coming up. I love her so much and I know the title is bad. I'm not going to try and downplay it, but I know if I knew what I was doing at the time I would have never done it. This is my very first real relationship and it's long distance. We have met in person once and hope to do it again soon. I met my girlfriend on Reddit under a post asking for advice on a girl I liked at the time. She DM'd me and it moved to Snapchat and we told each other we liked each other and we defined our relationship. During this time where we were just friends, I did like her but I didn't really take it seriously, which I wish I did. BC, I love her more than anything now. Told me she liked me first and I agreed that we should start a relationship. I continued to not really take our relationship seriously, and I hate myself for that in itself, and I genuinely think I was just a bad person back then. A few days after us defining our relationship, I got a Reddit DM from a girl around my age. For some context, I had a post up on another alt account that was asking questions about something vaguely sexual that may get a girl interested in me sexually. I got her DM asking about my post and it led to us sending explicit pictures and sexting. All of this happened just days after what my girlfriend and I consider to be the day we started dating and the day we will celebrate our anniversary together. This never happened again, and I started to focus more on my girlfriend and my relationship. And after taking more time to get to know her, I instantly fell head over heels for her. It wasn't until months into our relationship when I reflected on that day and realized what I truly did. I was literally in English class zoning out and it came to me that I had cheated on my girlfriend. Writing this made me look up the symptoms and I now realize that at this realization, I had a legitimate panic attack. I spent the next few days absolutely overcome by guilt. I remember telling myself if I wanted to stay with my girlfriend whom I love more than anything, I'd have to keep it to myself. I remember telling myself the next period that I needed to distract myself and my panic will get better. I just had to calm myself down. That day in particular, I didn't bring my phone to school so I couldn't check if it actually happened after I've defined our relationship, but I knew it didn't matter. I should have spent that period where we were just friends honestly getting to know my girlfriend instead of doing that. I still haven't said anything about this. There has been times when I thought I've worked up the courage to tell her, but I've always backed out. I still don't know if I'll ever be able to tell her I can't sacrifice our relationship. I love her too much. I know I'm a terrible person for this. I think I've grown a lot as a person over the span of our relationship, but I can't believe I was ever such a bad person. I still don't know what to do and this is the first time I'm telling anyone about it. I just got the idea to put it out there and I hopes I can find something from confessing. I have made a little bit of peace with the situation and I feel a little better but still very guilty. This was way more honest than I was expecting to be and I'm glad I could get this off my chest. Sixth story. Wife cheating with a young gold digger. My wife and I have been together for 26 years. Never thought there was an issue until Christmas Day 2023, when she told me she didn't love me anymore and was done. Long story short, we went to counseling, separate apps, because this is how the counselor works, separate, then when ready together. My wife told me a few months later I was doing amazing was the word she used, then said I was stressing her out, with being the way she wanted me to be. And I was rewarded with divorce papers, because she wanted me to know she was serious about being done. I'm confused. I find out that she's with a much younger guy only 3 years older than her oldest son. I find out that he lives with mommy and daddy and owns nothing. We are quite well off, and I believe he's a gold digger. We just split the main items between us, so we now each have half. If she lets this loser into the house, she bought me out, then 6 months, he will own half due to common law. She's very obsessed with this guy to the point where she's starting to be neglectful with host home clients. We're still under the same roof until my house is built. That's why I'm aware of all this. I still care enough about her that I don't want her to get duped. I'm also well loved by her family, and I really care about all of them, and don't want to see them lose what would eventually be their inheritance. The counselor tried to tell her about all the red flags she sees with this guy, but she won't listen. I know if I try to say anything, she will probably try to kick me out early. I feel she is disrespecting her whole family, especially her granddaughter who is really close to her. She has put her in the middle, which really angers me. I don't know what to do. I don't see a way to get her to realize what's happening, or how to, without breaking the law, get this guy to go away. She'll never be able to bring him around the family. They will not accept him because of how young he is. They know she's fooling around, but not how old he is. But I do plan on sharing those details soon.